Three soft knocks on the foggy Maine morning. A little voice through the door saying, "Sir, my brother hasn't eaten in 3 days." And me, a man who'd retired from people, standing there with a stale bagel in my hand, and a choice that felt bigger than the house behind me. That's how it started. I opened the door, and there she was, in an oversized jean jacket, cheeks red from the wind, a baby bundled to her chest with a faded dinosaur blanket, his lips pale, his cry barely a whisper. "Please, do you have any milk?" she asked, and whatever ice I'd kept packed around my heart for 9 long years cracked. You know what I mean. I let them in, turned the fire up like I could warm a whole winter with one knob, poured milk into a bottle, and watched that baby Milo drink like the world was finally willing to love him, while his sister Ellie kept one eye on the door like trouble had learned our address. I asked where her folks were. She said her dad was sick, her mom gone. "We live with Sabrina," and the way she said that name had a bruise in it. I called the police because that's what a man does when the situation is bigger than his living room. They came, they were decent, and then a black SUV slid up my drive, and out stepped a woman in a red coat that knew what it cost to hang right. "Mr. Rhodes, I'm Sabrina Cole. Thank you for your kindness." Papers appeared, signatures looked official, and the whole thing wrapped itself in a bow that didn't fool the part of me that still believes in gut checks. When they left, the quiet wasn't peace, it was noise, clock ticks, like accusations, and I told myself I'd done what I could, yeah. That happened. But then a small box I'd mailed to Ellie bounced back, stamped undeliverable, and I stood there with a returned teddy bear and a book about birds, and a feeling I couldn't swallow. So I drove to the address on those papers and parked across from a house leaning into its own shadow, curtains half closed, TV light flickering, and I heard Sabrina's voice through a cracked window, clean and practiced. "There'll be another round next week. They still trust me." A man's laugh. "Keep the kids looking hungry, money's better." And that's when the temperature inside my ribs dropped 20 degrees. Through the curtain sliver, I saw envelopes fat with cash, and Ellie in the corner holding Milo, like maybe holding him tight, was the only thing she could keep from being taken. I backed away, sat in my truck until my hands stopped shaking, then drove to social services and met Maya Ortiz, ponytail, tired eyes, kindness with calluses. She pulled a file, frowned in a way that tells you the truth is about to get inconvenient. "We've had complaints, nothing sticks, Sabrina is careful." Clinic names that didn't show up in any database, stamps that looked washed. "I can dig," Maya said, "but if she runs, the kids go with her." And that sentence took every bit of air out of my lungs. I found old neighborhood flyers in the trash. Sabrina smiling behind a folding table, Ellie beside her, with that glued-on hope, a banner that said, "Hearts of New England," fine print in the corner read, "Project Sponsorship Cycle 2." A quick search pulled up a state warning from years back. Same woman, different. Alias allegations of using kids to raise money, no charges, moved on. And if you've ever felt a pattern snap into place in your head, like a seatbelt, you know that click. A tip led me to St. Bridget's, shuttered and peeling at the edge of town, where the hallways remember too much. And there I met a former nurse, Nora Pike, fingers whirring a bag strap like prayer beads. She came every day, Nora said. Brought papers to Tyler, her husband. When he barely knew his own name, said it was insurance, but I saw a page in the Light property. Power of attorney he signed. I reported it, got transferred, then fired. I kept a photo. Grainy fluorescent glare, legal transfer, shaky signature, witness line, with Sabrina's name, and I felt cold bloom in my chest, like I'd swallowed a handful of snow. I went back to Sabrina's house and knocked. Ellie opened the door, smaller than before, the fridge behind her looked like a museum piece, and then the red coat swept in with perfume, and a smile you could skate on. "What a surprise, next time call first. It's good manners," she said. And I said, "I spoke to someone from St. Brigid's." And her smile snapped and reattached so fast it should have left a mark. "You believe disgruntled employees over legal documents. Tyler signed what he wanted. He's at peace, and this is my home." She stepped closer. Voice soft with steel. "You enjoy a quiet life. Be careful not to lose it." I left because I didn't have a badge, sat in my truck, with my jaw clenched hard enough to hurt. Heard her through an open bathroom window say, "I found a buyer. He'll be out by the weekend. I'll make it look clean." Buyer, not donor, not caseworker buyer. And I drove to Maya's office like the road needed proof I could still act. "We've got a gala in 2 days," Maya said, typing like the keyboard had insulted her family. Hearts and hands, Sabrina's being honored. It's a perfect springboard to disappear with a new last name and a checkbook. If we stop her, it's there. And I said, "I'm not a speaker." And she said, "You're a witness. Bring what you have. We'll verify what we can. And Calvin, don't make it about you. Make room for the kid to tell the truth." Which is a sentence that should be on a plaque in every building where adults make decisions. That ballroom smelled like shrimp cocktail and self-congratulation. Sabrina floated out in navy satin, Ellie and Milo in white. The lights found them like they'd paid for it. "I'm just an ordinary mother," Sabrina said, voice trembling on cue. "My children are my miracle." The crowd dabbed eyes and applauded their own reflection, and when the host lifted a certificate, I stepped into the aisle, not dramatic, just steady. "I need you to stop the program," I said, and a dozen cameras swung toward me like hunting dogs. "My name is Calvin Rhodes. I took Ellie and Milo in when they were hungry. I believe they're being used to raise money under false pretenses, and I have evidence that Sabrina coerced a property transfer from their father when he wasn't capable of consent." Sabrina laughed, the gracious laugh of the accused, and waved security over with her eyes. "He's confused, poor man." And I held up what I had, Orta's photo print, the state warning with aliases, a phone clip of Sabrina exchanging a cash envelope at the strip mall last week. "I'm not the one who gets to decide what's true tonight," I said, turning toward Ellie, keeping my voice small enough to fit in a child's ear. "Kiddo, do you want to stay with her? Or do you want to go home, the home you had when your dad was alive?" You could have heard a fork drop, but Brina squeezed Ellie's shoulder too hard and said through her teeth, "Tell them, sweetheart." And Ellie looked at Milo, looked at me, looked at the exit, then said, voice tiny but built on bedrock, "I want to go home." The room inhaled and didn't know what to do next. Maya moved like she'd trained for the moment. Badge out tone calm. "Social services is taking custody for now." People started arguing because nothing disrupts a good self-image like facts. Sabrina tried the side door. A reporter caught her with a mic. She threw a look over her shoulder that promised trouble and vanished into the cracks that appear when someone has practiced disappearing. And I spent the night in a lobby with coffee that tasted like pennies, watching 2 kids sleep like the first good night in a while. Temporary guardianship isn't a movie montage. It's cereal runs and salty eggs and toast too dark, because I'm still learning. It's Ellie standing at the stove saying, "I can help if you want," and producing perfect scrambled eggs while Milo steals a corner of toast and laughs like he invented crime. It's library cards with new names, a birthday cake with frosting that looks like a fight. I lost a folded note on my desk that says, "We can sleep in the garage if you need quiet," and my reply that says, "This house doesn't need quiet. It needs voices that plan breakfasts taped to a dresser. Like a medal, you know what I mean." I sold some stocks I hadn't looked at since the curve that took my family, and started the Maple Door Fund to help kids used as props in feel-good scams. Maya runs the hard parts, because she's good at hard. I sign what she tells me to and show up with donuts on Fridays. The quiet at night shifted from empty to peaceful. Ellie hums without realizing it. Milo draws red doors with light pouring out, and three stick figures holding hands. "That's Yuko," he says, jabbing the tall one. And I say, "I'm not that tall." And he says, "It's Dad." And I hang it high, so whoever needs to see it will. On a soft Sunday, she hammered a little wooden sign into the porch, dirt letters crooked meaning not. "This door started our life," she asked if her mom could see it. I said the right people see what matters, and later I sat by the mantel with tea going cold, and thought about that ballroom, half the room mad, because I ruined a picture they liked of themselves. The other half cheering like I'd fixed a broken thing, both halves wrong, I didn't fix anything. Ellie did. She told the truth into a microphone and chose herself in front of strangers who preferred a prettier story, and that's the muscle you grow when you've been underestimated long enough. Here's your ending and your question wrapped together. Sabrina vanished, no arrest, no bow on the box. Maybe she's smarter than me, maybe someone owed her, maybe we as a crowd like the feeling of charity more than the work of verification. The court date for adoption is on my calendar in toner. True letters, my fridge is covered in spelling tests and a lopsided heart that says to Mr. Calvin, who cooks crunchy toast, but good eggs. There's a file on my desk that says closed, even though the world never really is, and I still wonder if I did the right thing in the wrong way, crashing a gala and asking an 8-year-old to choose in front of 100 people. So tell me what you think. Tell me if I was right or reckless. If the woman in the red coat is the only villain, or if the room that wanted a feel-good story without questions is part of it too. Tell me if you've seen this kind of thing up close, or if a knock on your door ever changed you. Drop your take in the comments, argue, push back, share your proof, because that's how we learn to open the right doors and close the wrong ones.